Hi, welcome to the 523 podcast. This is podcast episode 3, and I'm Devan Corbello, and I have a special guest host. Andrea cannot make it today, so I have my good friend Brianna Floyd, and she is a mortgage originator.
Yes. Hi. Hello.
Thank you for being here.
I felt so special when you called me.
Oh, you're so sweet.
Andrea, if you can hear this, if you miss some more episodes, it's okay. I got you.
Yes. So Brianna and I, we've met a few years ago. Her husband and I were friends first, and then met
and then
through
you met
them.
his better half.
Yes.
And we're better friends.
Yes. No, Josh, I love you. It's good. But anyway, and so I asked her to be here because we kind of, this year or last year, 2018, we've decided to have a career change, a change in profession, or a change in dreams, I guess, following our dreams. I don't know. So
we kind of followed, like, we both made the same decision, but a different path.
right. Yeah. So do you want to kind of talk about what you've done in the past year or in 6 months?
So I was going to be a teacher, and in last summer, so almost a year ago, I decided that was not the path for me, and I switched over and I became a mortgage originator. So completely different line of work.
Yeah.
Super excited. It's a lot of fun, and I enjoy doing it. So it was a hard decision.
I bet. After spending all the money and time into getting a degree in education, and then you don't use it, which I'm sure you use. I mean, it's a really good degree to have, and teachers are great.
Yeah.
But you just found something that you like better, and that's awesome.
And better, and like I've said it 1,000 times, education is not going on a path that I want to go down. There's a lot of stuff wrong with it, and so we're gonna leave that there. Let's talk about other things. So I just decided that this was what was best for me and my family.
Yeah.
And luckily, I have a husband that supports me and encourages me to follow all of my crazy dreams. And here we are.
That's awesome. It's really cool to hear. I love when people follow their dreams, to hear stories. They're really encouraging, and it's helped me along my path of starting my own business and doing something completely different that I have no idea what I was doing at first, but I'm learning, and I think that's what life's all about. And especially this younger generation, the millennials, they say that we'll change career paths more over our lifetime than our parents or our grandparents.
I think we have more options than our parents and our grandparents had. And I don't know how I was raised that you don't do that. So they kind of scare you until you make this choice and you stick with it, whether you love it or you hate it. You stick with it. And so we're a different generation. We don't have to stick with it. We have the opportunity to do more. For
sure. And luckily, I mean, my dad, he ended up kind of changing careers a few times, and luckily my parents have been really supportive about everything. As long as you have a job and you contribute to society.
As long as you don't move back in with us.
Right. As long as you're making a good living for yourself, and you're not doing anything illegal, we're happy for you. But anyway, so following your dreams, it's great that you've done that, and you see yourself, and so going into education. When did you start that? It was a little later, right?
Well, I technically started working for Calcasieu Parish School Board in 2010. I started as a substitute teacher, and after a year of substituting, I got offered a position as a para in special education, which is an aide. So I was an aide, and I did that until 2014. And in 2014, across the state of Louisiana, they cut 235 positions, and my position was up to be cut. And they asked me, "Do you want to stay?" And I was just like, "Actually, you know what? I don't. I want to go back to college, and I'm going to be a teacher."
Yeah.
So I chose to leave in 2014, and so I went to college to get a degree in education. I was 27 years old. I was older. So yeah, it was a later in life decision, and things have changed in the school board since then. Over the 4 years I was in college, there was so much change and so much happened in the country and in the schools, and it wasn't the right place.
Yeah, but that's still commendable that you went at such a later age than your typical college student.
Yeah.
Which some of my favorite stories, and especially like from teachers, so I have such a huge respect for teachers, and I think what they do is not easy,
yeah.
and I think that a really good one, it's hard to find, and I was blessed, especially later on in like high school and stuff, and in college, some of my professors, they were really, really passionate and really great at what they do, and most of their stories where they started later, like they didn't go to school to be a teacher right out of college.
Yeah.
Like one of my favorites, she was my Spanish and world history teacher in high school, so I had her for junior and senior year, and her name was Miss Gurley, and she was so much fun. She was the only reason why I passed Spanish, I think, is because I just used my charm and just, one of those students that would like get her talking about her life and then to get away from the lesson. But she had a really interesting life. She had traveled all over the world, and just someone that was very interesting and also passionate about what she did. And she's a big inspiration about me, just like kind of finding my own way and just giving back to the world and just being a part of it, not just like to go with the motions. And so she was really cool. And since we're talking about like career paths, my first job was not Chick-fil-A. My first job was that was like my second or third technically, but in high school and right before the summer of my senior year, typical, you get a little part-time job, and I got a job at this vet, and then I also got a job at Market Basket.
That was my first job.
I spent a week at both to see which one I liked better, and I did not like the vet.
You didn't like the vet?
No, I love animals. Do not like cleaning a bathroom.
No.
And it was a lot more than what I realized. So I picked Market Basket.
Animals are disgusting.
Yeah.
We love them, but they're
especially
gross.
If they're at the vet, they're not like the healthiest things either. So you have to take extra care of them. And so anyway, was at the vet for a week, and that was it. But then so Market Basket was your first job.
That was my first job. How long did you stay there?
It was a few months. Let me see. I think it was like 3. So I started like 2 weeks before the 4th of July. It was chaos that week of the 4th.
Yeah.
And I stayed, and then I got a job at Chick-fil-A as in the kitchen because it paid better. And
so what's funny?
Yeah.
Is I was at Market Basket, and I got a job as a waitress, and that's why I left.
Really?
So, and back when I worked at Market Basket, this is going to age me. Minimum wage was $5.25 an hour.
Oh my gosh.
So I was working a lot.
Yeah.
For not a lot of money. Like my dinner that I would buy while I was working like a Saturday night shift, which was 8 hours long, cost more than what I was making in an hour.
Yeah.
So it was not a terrible job. It was a great job. Like they provided an opportunity. It was great, but we did not get paid a lot to work back in the day. It was,
well, and then I don't know which part you worked, what position you worked, but I was the cart guy or buggy guy or
carry out.
There you go. And luckily I would get like some kind of tips every now and then, like maybe like $5.
I was a cashier. They did not tip me.
But so whenever we had break, if I got like a couple dollars, like I would like go and like get something and eat in the break room.
That's hilarious.
It was a fun, interesting experience. This one lady I helped carry out her groceries. She said, and they had my first name on the name tag. So my first name is Lloyd, and I never go by Lloyd. I go by Devan, and they just put Lloyd on the name tag. Yeah. Oh, okay. Really?
I did not know that was your first name.
Yeah, it's a family name, and so my mom my dad and his dad are both named Lloyd, with a different middle name that starts with D. And so my dad's Daryl. I don't remember my grandpa's name because they always called him LD. So
Yeah.
Anyway, my mom never liked Lloyd, but she wanted to carry on the tradition.
Yeah.
And so that's why that's why I go by Devan. But anyway, so everyone called me Lloyd at work, and it was something to get used to. Well, this lady I helped carry out her groceries, she said that she was an author, and that for some reason that she wanted to write a book about me, or at least have a character about like that kind of either
Yeah.
Nate was named Lloyd or match my personality or something. I've only like met her once, and like so if you're listening, if you have that book, I would love to read it.
What market basket was it? Just a reference.
It's the one on Ryan Street here in Lake Charles, like by Books a Million.
Okay.
Yeah.
About how many years ago?
That was 2012.
Okay, there you go. Maybe you'll find her.
Yeah, well, maybe. I just have like this vision that one day I'll like get famous. That's what I'm hoping for. That or run for president. I think that's like my ultimate goal. We'll see about that.
Yeah, do it.
And that she'll like come forward and like I'm gonna tell the story to like the Today Show or something crazy like that, and like she's gonna come forward and I'm gonna like end up reading the book, and I can't wait.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. What did you see yourself doing like whenever you were younger? Like your first like dream job, like when I grow up I want to be.
So, and every little girl wants to be a marine biologist.
Is that the case for every little girl?
When I was a kid, everybody wanted to be a marine biologist. I wanted to move. My biggest thing was I grew up in Southeast Texas, a little bitty town. I was in foster care for a while, so I kind of lived all over the state. But about the time I was 12, I decided that I was getting out of Texas. I was leaving, which I guess I did. I'm in Louisiana now. So I can't say I had a dream job so much as I just wanted to move.
Yeah.
And any job that was going to allow me to move, I was going to take it.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't.
And like here you are now.
Yeah, and I don't know. I guess I never like saw something that I really wanted to do until I was 23 and started working for the school board. And that was when I was like, okay, I'm going to be a teacher. But,
That's
dreams
awesome.
change. Yeah.
So
what was yours?
I have had a lot of like dream jobs, but in a minute I'll tell you what kind of, I don't know, we'll see. I think my very first one was I would watch I Love Lucy with my grandma and with my mom, like just growing up, and I loved that she made me laugh, that she made other people laugh.
Yeah.
And so at the time I said I wanted to be Lucy growing up, and like my mom will tell that story all over, and it's kind of embarrassing. Like, and I may have told this story before, I'm not sure, but I'm like, Mom, no, I wanted to be like an entertainer. I wanted to make people laugh, an actor, and I think that's the one that stuck with me the most throughout my life is wanting to just that artwork of like acting and turning words into like emotion on screen or on stage and making people feel something different and like it kind of gets people out of their world for that short amount of time, whether it be that emotional pulling on the heartstring or the comedy, you're making people laugh, or you're just getting people engaged in what you're doing for that short amount of time. And so that's like my first one. But then I watched, so movies like helped me, like influenced me a lot growing up. And so I watched Jurassic Park. I wanted to be a paleontologist. That was number one for a hot minute from like kindergarten to like fourth grade. And
it's a good dream.
So I got so we were going around in kindergarten with a sub asking what we wanted to be whenever we grew up. And I said paleontologist. And for a kindergartner, that was a big word.
Yeah.
But I just watched all these adult movies and it was like, it's, normal. And so I got a Tootsie Roll for that. So proudest moment right there. And then fourth grade came around and that was my first presidential election. So kind of like an introduction to politics as far as like we learned about what was happening. I think it was like Bush and Kerry and And you're probably like, that's like middle school for me.
Yeah, no. Bush and Carrie, I was an adult.
Oh no, we won't talk about that.
That was my first election I was able to vote in.
Really?
Actually. So, anyways.
Always some people.
I think I could vote. Actually, I might have been 1 year away from being able to vote.
Really?
So, but yes, I was already out of high school when that one happened. So, yeah.
Well, so, and from that, like, that just really was really cool to me, politics and wanting to be president and, like, wanting to, like, affect change in some kind of way.
Yeah.
And so from then on, I thought, like, my goal was to be a leader, be a politician, be president ultimately. And then, so that's between that and acting, that has, like, stuck with me throughout my life. Just that idea that, having that influence and having that power to help change a community, help change people's lives in a better way, that's always, like, helped me and, like, has driven me to do things like that I do now. And then I saw Twister. Or I grew up watching Twister too.
Oh wait, I wanted to be a meteorologist.
Okay,
I forgot about that phase.
same.
It went marine biologist, meteorologist, and then I didn't know.
Exactly. So I've always wanted to, like, chase tornadoes and, like, be a meteorologist.
Yep.
And that was always really neat to me. And then we went to go visit KPLC on a field trip, and we had to practice reading off of a teleprompter. And that is so hard. And it's way harder than these people that do the news and are on the news, like, as anchors or meteorologists. They have to read so fast, and I'm not a fast reader, and it's like you mess up on one part, and then you're thrown off the rest of the time. And so I just have really mad respect for all these people that do that.
But now you're on KPLC in a different way.
I am.
You go on KPLC sometimes now. So you kind of got your dream, just not quite the way
It's
you
getting
planned
there.
it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna have to talk to Ben on the morning shows. I'm like, hey, I'm gonna step in for you for a little while.
he might let you. Hey,
Right?
Ben, let Devan. I'll watch that. I'll watch
Ben
it.
Terry, come on now.
You will have for sure one viewer. I promise.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I'll talk to Ben. Hopefully, he may be listening. But so anyway, is there any other career changes that I had in my mind ever?
So actually, to add to what you were saying, one of the reasons that I can't say one of the reasons, but one of the things I want to do eventually, and this is not my shameless plug to promote myself for, but one day I would love to be on the school board, and one day I would like to make changes in our state and possibly our nation that will benefit our teachers.
Yeah, I think that's a really admirable goal to.
So I have not forgotten about them, and I want to make some changes, and
that's
hopefully, awesome. Since I have an education degree, I have a platform of teachers I'm allowed to talk to because I know them. I can hopefully one day do that. So
yeah,
not
awesome.
now. Give me like some years.
Yeah, for sure.
But I want to do it.
So that's great, and I'm behind you 100%.
Oh, thanks, Devan. I get one vote at least.
Yes, for sure.
You might change your mind. There might be someone better qualified.
We'll cross that bridge when we get there. But let's change gears right now, since we're kind of fashion oriented on this podcast.
Okay.
And speaking of, like, growing up and, like, your dreams and your childhood and things like that, so, like, past fashion, I would say mistakes, but it's not. I think fashion is an art form, and it's like your personality. So, like, maybe fashion regrets.
Okay, I got this.
Yeah. So any, like, particular standouts?
So the biggest one was when I was about 14 years old. Someone gave me a pair of tweezers and let me, which I guess that's not fashion, but the way you look is fashion.
For sure.
Makeup and all that can be considered fashion. But I got a hold of a pair of tweezers, and I plucked all of my eyebrows off.
Okay, you would have been great for last week's episode.
I know. Y'all talked about this last week. I remember you talked about your brother's eyebrows. But so from about 14 until 17, I didn't have eyebrows. People just let me keep plucking them off. And so, like, now when I look at pictures, I'm like, where where were my eyebrows? I didn't have eyebrows. Who lets you walk around? Like, none of your friends said, hey, stop plucking your eyebrows off.
Well, so, I'm sure people were too worried about themselves at the time.
True.
Notice.
But I grew up in a generation of people wore overalls. So I have a picture of going to Astroworld when it was still open. I was 13, 14, and I'm wearing khaki overalls. I look like I'm wearing a parachute. I don't know the character, but you know the big character that's round. I almost want to say it's not an Oompa Loompa, but anyways,
Violet.
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Violet. When the girl gets blown up, that I looked like that.
Oh my gosh, I'm sure you did.
Awful. Yes, you can ask my husband. I showed him the picture, and he was like, "Oh my god, people let you wear that." They did.
See, I remember the story. Speaking of overalls, so they used to do at my church whenever I was growing up. That they used to do like these pictures every now and then, like you get the family together, and they had this photographer come in, and it was like this. I don't even know the theme. It was like a backwoods, like country. I don't know, but we all had to dress in overalls and like have like a fishing rod, and like it looked like an old like backwoods country thing. And for some reason, I did not like overalls because I couldn't have a shirt on. Like it was just like no shirt, like overalls, and like I was a kid. Like it wasn't like, and I just felt so exposed. I guess I don't know. I just didn't like. I don't know, I guess modest is the word, or shy, I don't know. Yeah. But I remember, like, my cousins were trying to get me to go, and I was just crying and bawling, and I was like, I don't want to go. And I looked back at that picture, and I was smiling, you could even tell, but I just remember I had the worst time, and I didn't want to do it, and I cried, but now I do have one pair of overalls because they are, I guess, back in style. They're coming
back, yeah.
But these were like a 4th of July overalls and, like, shorts, and they don't fit anymore because it's too small. But yeah, so that's like my overall story of overalls. That's my one dad corny joke for the podcast.
And do you remember in the early 2000s, probably around 2005, the t-shirts that said, like I had one that said cutie, and then underneath it had like an apple pie, so it said cutie pie. Some of them said very bad, like suggestive things. Like you remember that phase? They would say just things that you shouldn't wear on a t-shirt.
I was probably too young for that to remember.
Well, I had multiple shirts like that, and they were all skin tight, and I was not the most fit 17-year-old that I could have been. And so like I look back on pictures and I'm like, but again, why did nobody tell me this? Why did they let you dress like that?
Yeah.
It's just, I have many fashion, and the hair. I grew up in the era of the big bangs, and like, it's just, you would tease them until they stood a foot off your head, and then you go take a picture. Oh, and perms. I had a perm. We keep talking. Like, it was bad. My entire childhood should just be erased, and my very early adulthood, just don't judge me. And even now, I'm not great, but even now, now I can kind of dress myself.
No, you always dress really well.
Thanks.
I think my biggest thing was the hair. I don't know, for guys, I didn't have a lot of, like, it was just, like, t-shirt, or I remember growing up, and it was, like, they had, like, the t-shirt, and then, like, the rest, like, they had another, like, sleeve under that made it long sleeve.
Yeah.
And, like, it was just, like, sewed into, like, the other, like, the short sleeve. And I don't know why, but, like, those were, like, everyone had, like, shirts like that. And I remember taking a picture, like, a school picture in that shirt, in one of my shirts. And for some reason, I didn't like my smile that year. And so I did the closed mouth smile. And I usually, like, smiled really big. Like, it's just my thing. Like, our family just smiles really big. And it was, like, it was probably my worst school picture I've taken. And all my other pictures, though, my hair, my mom and dad, they cut my hair short. And I have this huge cowlick in the front. And they didn't cut it. Like, I was telling my hair lady this other day. And by the way, I think last week I said she didn't text me back. She did text me back, and I finally got my hair cut, and it was good. But my cowlick stood right up, and it was just those like 4 little hairs in the front, and the rest was it like a buzz cut. And throughout, like from kindergarten to like 7th grade, whenever I realized I could like fix my own hair, that's what it looked like in all of my school pictures.
No.
It was so bad, and I just like, ooh. And like it was cute up until like 3rd grade, and then after that, it was like, poor baby. Like the parents need to stop taking him to Walmart to get his hair cut, and because that's where they would take me, and like Walmart's place, like that's where like all the new people go if they don't have like a salon to go to. I'm assuming. I hope. I don't know. Nothing against that, but they just didn't fit my hairstyle.
Yeah.
At least my taste. Luckily now I know a little bit more about how to style my own hair, and it looks a little bit better.
I think with fashion and makeup and hair and all of that, you have to learn what fits you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've learned, I'm 5 foot tall. You know how a couple of years ago the style was those loose-fitting shirts for women, like off-the-shoulder, loose-fitting tops?
Mm-hmm.
Well, when you're 5 foot tall and you try to wear that, you look like a potato. It's not. So I've learned, like, how to, and I don't do great. There are times when I still wear stuff and I see photos and I'm like,
Same.
What? But you have to learn what fits your body and what's necessarily in fashion, and I said that in quotation marks because nobody can see me. It might not fit you. And so,
yeah, right.
Like, the high-waisted pants, if I put on high-waisted pants, I might as well be wearing a bodysuit because I have no waist. So it's like, what? So, like, you just have to figure out what fits you. And my daughter is 5'3.5", and she's 13, and she can literally wear everything, and I hate her for it. But, like, you have to figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. And I think fashion is about figuring out your personal style, and whether trends come and go, but like there's still something, I think, with each trend or each like fashion era, if you want, that there's something that fits you, that fits your personality, and that it looks good on you. Like, I don't know, like my legs are pretty, not big. I have like meaty thighs. Let's say thick with 2 C's. But anyway, so I can't like wear the skinny jeans and all that.
Yeah.
I tried and it did not work out well. But just something like a fitted, tailored pant, I think looks good on anyone. So whether it be, depending on what kind of leg you get, whether it's a straight leg, skinny leg, regular boot cut, I think bell bottoms I heard were coming back in.
I can't wear those. Again, I'm 5 foot tall.
Yeah, so I don't know. It takes a really, because I'm like 5'8", 5'9" on a good day, depending on where the moon is. But so I can't wear those either. But I think just finding what you're comfortable in, but also what's, I think, fitted clothes and tailored clothes do well. And whenever I say tailored, you may think everything's like all like fitted and it's like skin tight, but it's not. It's where your sleeves are not too long.
Yeah.
It's where your pants leg is not too long, where it looks crinkled, where your waist, if you're like in between like waist sizes, where it's like it fits well, where it's not too baggy, or your shirt, that depending on what type of shirt it is, that it's not baggy. Like if it's like a button down, like it makes you look wider and it makes you look frumpy, especially if you're wearing a button down to like a formal event or a professional event or to your office. Like you want something that's fitted and tailored, and I think finding a good tailor in your area that you can go bring your new pieces of clothing to is great. Finding your size, because I used to wear mediums and like the shirts and stuff. And of course you grow up, you get bigger in some type of way, and I do feel like I have broad shoulders, but I think every guy says that just to make him feel good. So my mom says I have broad shoulders, so we'll go with that. But anyway, to find that fit in a shirt to make you look better and to make yourself, I don't know, and I've said this many times, that if you feel like you look good, you have confidence, and that helps you convey a sense of confidence to other people. And so, yeah, I agree. Totally agree.
If you feel good, you will have confidence.
Yeah. If you feel good, you
like
look
you
good.
look good. Yeah. I have a question for you.
Sure, I may have an answer.
If you could choose any fashion, if you could just pick it, no matter not worry about how you're going to look in it, do whatever, what would you choose?
Okay, like fashion trend or like era or okay.
Or era. You could do trend or era.
I was watching this historical movie, like historical fiction movie the other day, and it was like about King Henry VIII and that Elizabethan era, the Tudors, and I really just liked like the big sleeves and like just like everything was kind of flowy and like they kind of wore capes. Like I'm rewatching Game of Thrones now too, and they all have like capes on and like things like and like there's a whole bunch of layers, and y'all know I love layers. I don't know, it just looked really cool, and like everything was like very like elegant and ornate, and of course that was like the gentlemen, the lords of the court, so you had to be rich for that. But it was that was just really neat, and I was like, that could be something that we could bring back, and it would like totally change everything. Because I felt like it showed that men could also dress really cool, and like not that they were worried about that, but it showed that they had put time into their fashion too, into their looks, other than it's just all women. So that was, yeah. What about you?
Honestly, I really like the bohemian look.
Really?
And I get so jealous because I cannot pull it off. There are two people in town, and I will not name them, but every time I see them, and they embody the whole look. Like I'm talking, they're always wearing a hat and maybe a lace vest or what. It always looks great, and I can't do it.
Oh no!
And so I love that, and I don't know if I love it so much because I can't do it, and so I want to do it, but I can't do it. I would love to do it, and I can't.
Sometimes you just have to try to pull it off, like
I have tried it.
You tried.
Like a potato. So they look fabulous, and I envy them a little bit.
Yeah, it's a really cool. It seems like a comfortable look, but also like I don't know. I guess comfortable is the right word, but that makes it sound like it's lazy, and I don't think that's the case.
I think it takes a lot of effort,
it's a really neat look. I agree for sure. So, since you're a guest, my second guest to have on the podcast, first guest co-host.
I feel so special.
Yes. So I'm going to ask all of my guests this, and we talked to Chris and Andrea on my first episode about the books that they are reading or have read, or maybe like a book that has inspired you in some kind of way.
Okay.
What would that title or titles be?
So there is one book that I read recently. It's called The Subtle Art of Not Giving a... We'll stop there. So I liked the book because I feel like in our world, we get so caught up in what other people think about us. And the book goes through, first of all, why you should always care. It was very clear about how you should respect other people, but you should learn that you do not base all of your decisions on what people think of you. Essentially the saying, what other people think of me is none of my business. It just explains how to get to that point where you're going to do what's right. Obviously, you can't be a horrible person and just not care what people think about you, but you're going to do what's right, and you're going to do, you're going to essentially do what's best for you as long as you're not hurting other people, and you have to learn not to worry so much about what other people think. And that taught me a lot because my entire life has been worrying about what other people think of me, and it causes me a lot of anxiety because I'll walk into a room and I'm like, oh, everybody here hates me. And it's anxiety. It's just social anxiety. And so, honestly, I've been able, I can't say overcome because I still get like that, but I've learned how to deal with it. And now I walk into a room and I'm like, if they don't like what I'm wearing, oh well, I'm wearing it, not them.
Yeah.
And I care a lot about people. So I still care. I've just learned how to put it on the back burner.
Why not let that be your entire focus, especially if you're walking into a room and whether it be like a business deal or you're in a meeting or whatever the case may be. So that's really cool. Do you remember the author?
No.
I'm going to have to look
It's
into
a
that.
bright orange book.
Uh-huh.
There's a
I've heard of it, I think.
there's a curse word on the front of it.
Yeah.
It's a very bright orange book. I see it around still.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
I don't remember the author though. I should, because it is. I have actually recommended that book to a couple of people.
Mhm.
Um, even though it has. Sorry
No,
about the
that's
bad word,
okay.
guys. I'm
No,
sorry. I did not choose the title.
it's okay.
I think there's an alternate cover too that's red. The one I have is orange.
Mhm.
I might be mistaken on that, but it's very bright.
I'll have to look
Either
into
way.
that.
Um,
Yeah.
do you? I don't. That's my latest book, and I also read Sharp Objects. Uh,
Ooh, that's like
it's a mini series
an
on
HBO, huh?
Amazon
Mhm.
or HBO, which yeah,
Oh, I've heard of that. Is it good?
it's yes, and the book is by Gillian Flynn,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, it's a great read.
It's really
But
cool.
what is yours?
So I just started the what's it called? It's The Millionaire Next Door,
Yeah.
and it's I can't think of the two authors. It's a co-author book, but anyway, it's really neat. It was published in 1996, but they kind of updated it a little bit. But it's basically how most of what we think millionaires are
Mhm.
is not the case. They did this extensive study over like a decade of studying who the millionaires are in America and what they look like, what they bought, like their lifestyles and things like that. And it's really interesting because it's not what we think. We all think, Hollywood, movie stars, these really elite CEOs and things like that, that people make hundreds of thousands of dollars every year. And that's not the case. And it's really neat it's the way people handle money. It's a lot of people that have, or first generation rich. It's not a lot of people that have inherited,
Yeah.
um, had, had an inheritance. And that's and it's really neat because they said in the survey they sent out like this survey for all these people, and they live in the average neighborhoods that we all live in, and or sometimes even like below what we think a millionaire should live in. And one thing, I'm just starting it right now, so I don't know everything, but like the introduction and the first chapter, it's really cool and opened my eyes to like how they think when dealing with money,
Yeah.
and how of course it's good to live below your means and to budget out, and that it's a lot of small business owners and first generation people that have made themselves wealthy in this way, and that's really encouraging. And because it's if you want to not make a name for yourself, but if you want to live financially stable and to leave some behind for your children, and this is a really good start, and it's been recommended in a lot of the books I've read, and a lot of the list people should read, like especially if you're an entrepreneur or whatever. It's a very smart like money book, and even though it's been 20 years, 20 plus years now, since it's been first published, it's really relevant today about living within your means, and not spending what you don't have, and
Yeah.
being smart about how to your budget. And you don't have to have the latest car, you don't have to have the latest thing, you just and so I really enjoy it, so I'm really looking forward to finishing it.
Yeah, and you're saying that, and it made me think about the book that I was talking about. It talks about how keeping up with the Joneses,
Hmm.
that's a mindset we place on ourselves.
Right.
And by forcing ourselves to always want to keep up with someone else, or seeing a new car out there and being like, I have to have it,
Hmm.
we essentially are more worried about other people seeing us that we are keeping up with them
Yeah.
than worried about our own well-being
Yeah.
and our own financial stability.
Hmm.
And that's a problem.
It's a really good lesson.
Yeah.
And on that note, again, Brianna, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for
It's been
having me.
great talking with you, as always. So check her out if you need a mortgage.
Yes, a
Um,
mortgage. If you are planning on purchasing a home.
yeah, and do you have like a number or a website or email they can call? Or
My
if you want to
number
give it
is
out.
337-936-6139.
Cool. Yeah. And give her a shout if you need anything. She'll help you out. So again, thank you. And we'll tune in next week. Bye.
Bye,
Do
everybody.
good.